I'd say it's time to go, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to So Fresh, So Prince.
We're not more excited today. We're just louder for some reason.
Well, we're louder because we are the only Fresh Prince podcast.
This is very true, and we're still loud.
I'm realizing, people who are coming to this for the first time, they may not know what this is, and if we don't say at the top that we are a Fresh Prince podcast, what are they going to think?
That we're just amazing people.
Well,
they fall in love with the voice.
That goes without saying, but I mean, there are so many things they could be. They could think that we're doing an Outcast podcast somehow.
That's next. We'll add that to the list. And I'll come out in Aladdin pants and no shirt, and I'll just wear a head wrap.
And I'm just going to shake my head disappointedly.
Okay.
Isn't that all Big Boy does? It just kind of sits there?
Big Boy is a very, very, very pivotal person in Outcast. We just like him second. We still like him. He still gets a silver medal.
And he likes the way we move. Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, look, we might have listened to Andre's whole entire CD over and over again, but we loved his single on the radio.
I still have no idea. And if anyone can tell me, please, by all means, tweet it at us at SoFreshSoPrince or send us a Facebook message. What is Hey Ya about?
I'm not going to give it away. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to make it easy for you. Okay. I mean, he just wanted some sugar.
Well, please, by all means, we are all over the social media. Yeah, I sound like a 47-year-old
you don't sound old at all.
No, not at all.
No.
I'm all over the social media.
Do you twatter?
I'm on the Facegrams.
I don't think you want to say that out loud.
Probably
for so
not.
many reasons. There's so many inappropriate Facegrams. As Peter Dinklage just comes up on my TV.
But we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, facebook.com/SoFreshSoPrince, at SoFreshSoPrince on Instagram and Twitter, SoFreshSoPrince.tumblr.com. We're not Snapchatting yet, though, so don't be expecting that anytime soon. But please, by all means, send us all things related to the Fresh Prince, or if you can tell me what Hey Ya was really about.
And so, just to be sure, you're not on Peter Dinklage's Facegram, right? we just want to clear all this up right away.
We are very, very sure that the Game of Thrones rerun that is on your television has nothing to do with our Facegram.
Okay.
Also, I'm going to give a little gift to all of our listeners.
Drum roll.
All right.
Please.
Sing the Game of Thrones theme song and just repeat Peter Dinklage's name over and over and over again as the lyrics. Just sing it to the tune. You will not regret it until you regret it.
I like it. I'm a fan of it. Can it go platinum?
It can absolutely go. We live in a world where anything can go platinum.
I like it.
I mean, let's think about the things that have gone platinum. Milli Vanilli, MC Hammer.
Well, MC Hammer had to go platinum because he had all of his friends in the whole city of Oakland to pay for.
Which he did. Yeah.
He didn't get any money back,
yes,
but he threw that money at Oakland.
True.
Or they took it from him. We're not sure yet. It is Oakland.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Their football team is called the Raiders for a reason.
And their main fan base is criminals who got caught. Because there's such thing as a criminal who doesn't get caught. I applaud them.
Yes.
They're smart enough to get away.
We are so far off topic right now. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I have nothing.
Okay.
Back to the show.
Yes. So, Lorenzo, what happened in this week's episode?
Well, we find out that Will likes to watch people sleep. And we find this out because it's Geoffrey's birthday, and that's the first scene we see. So we see Will in his very best Barry Bonds earring on the side wake Geoffrey up along with the rest of the Banks family because it's Geoffrey's birthday and they want him to have a day off. So they're going to do all the chores that they hired him to do because they hate doing them in the first place. Yeah, and that's where we are so far. If you don't like doing chores, just hire a butler and be very rich.
I feel that's the simplest thing. It's like, oh yeah, just hire a butler if you're rich.
Yeah. So, being that it's Geoffrey's birthday and Will has to be the most extravagant person in the world, he says, I want to get Geoffrey a woman. Because I haven't seen Geoffrey with a woman the whole time that I've been here.
Which, let's mind you, at this point is what, like 2 months?
Yeah, and that's a long time for Will, apparently, to go womanless. So, he says, I'm going to get Geoffrey a date. And he decides he's going to go to the mall. And if you listen to the podcast, which I know you do, plug, shameless, but I have no shame.
Well, we're preaching to the choir right now.
Yeah. So he goes to the mall where he previously struck out amazingly. But Ashley, she has a friend Samantha who has a nanny who is new from England and has only been here for a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
So Will says, hey, she's from England, Geoffrey's from England. We should hook the two up. Only to find out that it's Naomi Campbell. A young Naomi Campbell with edges and a full head of hair. Mm-hmm. Let's make that clear right now. And Will is kind of jealous, so he's trying to find a way to get in there, and Carlton beats him to the punch. So he says, hey, that's Geoffrey's date. You let them go to the club. But Will, being Will, shows up to the club in his best Dick Tracy suit and tries to snake Naomi Campbell from Geoffrey. And it doesn't go well. We'll get into that later. But yeah, that's pretty much what happens in the episode, and all of the funny that happens in the middle is what we talk about.
I love the fact that you said he shows up in his best Dick Tracy. I personally think it was a little more Big Bird.
Big Boy?
Big Bird.
Big Bird.
Yes, Big Bird.
So who would be Snuffleupagus in this situation?
Jazz.
But Jazz isn't big enough to be Snuffleupagus.
No, but Snuffleupagus was the guy who, for many years, everyone thought was Big Bird's imaginary friend.
Or his client, because, Big Bird was always on the corner, and we never knew what Big Bird did. But there was
Hey. We are going down a very dark road right now.
I was just gonna say Sleepy.
We're going a very dark road right now.
I was gonna say Sleepy.
I totally understand that Oscar the Grouch was probably a meth addict. I get that. He lived in a trash can.
Nobody did drugs on Sesame Street. I was just going to say Snuffleupagus was sleepy, so Big Bird gave her Red Bull.
Also, I'm pretty sure Snuffy was a guy.
Okay, so we don't know what Snuffleupagus was. Man, woman, elephant.
No. It was made very clear in the show. Snuffleupagus was a Snuffleupagus.
Okay, in your wonderful world with unicorns, that makes sense. But to me, I'm confused.
Okay.
But anyways,
yes.
I think Will look like Dick Tracy. You think he looked like Big Bird.
Yes.
And, some people think he looks like Extra at a Cool World. Hey, he showed up in a bright yellow suit and a T-shirt. That's class.
Yes.
That's Bel Air class right there.
You need to have a certain level of confidence to show up as a 17-year-old at what is clearly a club that is 21 and over and draw that much attention to yourself.
But, he's friends with the DJ, so, you always get in. When I was 17, I got in clubs because I was friends with the DJ.
Yeah, how old do we think Jazz is?
Do we think Jazz should be in jail right now is the better question. We don't know if Jazz...
Well, hold on. Let's broaden that question a little bit, because the answer is yes, Jazz should be in jail. But should he be in jail for pedophilia reasons?
No. Jazz is much higher than that. He's just radios from cars and things of that nature.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Of that nature. Got it.
Yeah, you know.
Although you would assume that if he's in a club as a DJ, they have to be paying him something, especially if Cher's electrolysis is going to be there.
Well, I mean, I've been to many clubs where the DJ, they just kind of found him on a whim. I've been in clubs with many celebrities there.
But this was before the days of the iPod, where you actually had to scratch on vinyl. So you did have to have a certain level of talent. Let's not forget, this was 1990.
Well, Jazz is good because he's good at being a criminal that doesn't get caught. We figured this out.
Okay.
So he can be good at whatever. And the fact that he's a DJ, he's got to be good at that.
Also, I think that's the sitcomiest of all sitcom things that happens in this show. Because, again, in this episode, Jazz does get thrown out of the house. But after a while, this is the third time he's been thrown out of the house, at what point does Uncle Phil say, I think I need to call the cops on this kid? I'm an attorney. I have pull. I could probably get him thrown in jail for something.
This is true. But I mean, how often does an attorney get to really go full Samuel L. Jackson on somebody and throw them out of their house? If I had that option, I think I would too.
I'm tired of this motherfucking Jazz in my motherfucking house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would do it. I'm waiting. Matter of fact, somebody please come to my house and just make me a little angry, just enough so I can throw you out.
For the record, up until this point, Lorenzo has been very adamant. He does not want you to come to his house. But now you have carte blanche.
Yeah, you have an open invitation this one time.
Like hell you do.
Yeah, well.
So when the show actually begins, the first thing we see is Geoffrey sleeping in his bed. First time we see his bedroom, mind you.
Yeah.
And Will just kind of gets all up in his bubble and wakes him up by screaming in his ear.
Yeah.
At which point Geoffrey was very, very good-natured about this.
Because he's English and he's classy.
Stiff upper lip, stiff upper lip.
Yes.
But not only is Will there, the entire family is there because it's Geoffrey's birthday, and they start by making him breakfast in bed.
What did this breakfast consist of?
Oh, your standard eggs, English muffin, toast, bacon, and orange juice.
So about 5 minutes in the kitchen.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm going to assume that Uncle Phil ate the other 3/4 of what was supposed to be Geoffrey's breakfast.
Which, pair with the fact that the big running joke of this episode is that everyone else is going to be doing Geoffrey's chores for him, including the cooking, and that somehow becomes Carlton and Ashley's job. Now, why you let the 16-year-old and the 19-year-old in the kitchen by themselves and assume that they're not either going to make something awful or potentially burn the house down, I don't know. I mean, if it were me, I would probably want Aunt Viv doing the cooking and have Carlton and Ashley being the one cleaning off the surfaces of the house. But no, apparently, you can just give it to the 16 and the 9-year-old.
Yeah, because you got to remember, Aunt Viv is the buffer. Pretty much the only thing that can stop Uncle Phil.
Yeah.
So she's got to stay with him and say, no, don't go in the kitchen. Don't go in the kitchen. And if he runs, she'll just kick him in the back of the knee with the heel.
Because as we've learned, she's got rhythm.
Yes, she does. But what I want to know is how exciting Geoffrey's plans for his birthday are.
Oh, they are incredibly exciting. And simultaneously, the most accessibly British thing that the writers could come up with. Because his plan, he's going to watch a Masterpiece Theatre production of Gilbert and Sullivan's HMS Pinafore. and then watch an interview with Mr. David Frost. Now, for those of you who don't know, Gilbert and Sullivan wrote operettas. Those are like musicals that wanted to be operas. And David Frost was a guy who interviewed President Nixon after he had already been kicked out of office and got him to say on camera, if the president does it, it's not illegal, in reference to the Watergate scandal.
Yeah.
Now, you just learned something from this podcast, so you can tell your parents it's educational.
Educational, yes.
So you're welcome. But it's at that time, that was like the most stereotypically British thing that any writer could have thought of. It's like, if they were doing it today, the response would have been, I'm going to sit around and listen to a One Direction album and then watch Simon Cowell be interviewed by Barbara Walters.
I can't disagree with you. I mean, at least they could have said he's going to watch some Monty Python. No?
Maybe, but at the same time, how accessible was Monty Python at that point to the greater ether? I agree, Monty Python, if you knew comedy, you knew Monty Python, but was that the crowd watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
I don't think the crowd watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air knew anything about English anything at this point.
Geoffrey was their only foray into English culture.
That's it. It's Geoffrey and the Rolling Stones. That's it.
Not the Beatles.
I mean, the Beatles were Americanized by then. Come on now.
Okay.
The Beatles are an American treasure. I don't care where you're from.
Very good. Geoffrey, he asked for a spot of tea. Nobody wants to get it for him.
No. The family said they'll get it for him, but they just exercised their great delegation.
Which, the problem in this scenario is that the family are master delegators to Geoffrey.
Yeah.
And that's where the wacky comedy of this entire episode is set up, because, hey, you know what? We're not going to have anyone to delegate to, so we're going to have to find ways to get Hillary to do things.
Yeah.
But how do you get Hillary to do anything?
Money.
Yeah. You threatened to take away her allowance, and that's why she got Geoffrey the tea.
Yeah. But my favorite part of that scene was the, good night, John. Good night, John boy. Whole kind of joke. It's like, oh, yeah. Uncle Phil says, oh, don't worry about that. We'll get you the tea. Vivian, get the tea. Will, get the tea. Carlton, get the tea. Ashley, get the tea. Hillary, get the tea.
You just made a Mama's Family reference.
Yes, I did.
That's a very impressive feat. Not only are we the only podcast talking about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, we are probably the only podcast making a reference to the Carol Burnett classic, Mama's Family.
I know stuff. I was a latchkey kid. I had to watch a lot of TV.
I learned the facts of life from the facts of life.
Yes, actually. Don't judge me.
No judgment.
You probably did, but it's okay. I love me.
So the crux of this episode is that for whatever reason, Will decides that he needs to find a woman for Geoffrey. Like, he needs to find him a date. Now, why the 17-year-old wants to find a date for his butler, especially when he can't even attract a normal woman himself, is beyond me.
It might be that teenage vibrato. You know, just, I'm going to conquer women by any means necessary. And we learned last week, like I said, that Will had his Waterloo, if you will, at the mall. Yeah. So he says, I'm going to go back because it's going to be different this time. Instead of bringing Carlton, I'm going to bring Jazz.
Which is actually pretty amazing that it worked out that well, because these episodes were shot out of order. So last week's episode, the Halloween episode, was actually filmed after this episode.
So either way, he failed in immaculate fashion one time before.
Even with Jazz coming with him, who we know from the Rafael De La Ghetto episode has the greatest pickup line in the history of pickup lines, which is,
let's go grab some chicken Oh, I'm sorry. I'm messing it up. Let's go grab some barbecue and get busy. But see, the problem with that is you can't go to a high-end mall and say, let's go grab some barbecue and get busy. You gotta say, let's go grab some sushi and get busy. And it just doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, it really doesn't.
Let's go grab a bagel and get busy. No? Is there any more? Let's go grab some hummus and get busy.
Oh, God.
No, it just doesn't. I'm trying here, people. Got anything? Baklava? What else do you not have at the lower malls that you have at the really nice ones?
Well, it's the only thing that's coming to mind is like, let's go the 1950s route. Let's go to the malt shop and grab a cheeseburger and cherry Coke and get busy, Sally.
But that's a Carlton thing to say.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have the same ring.
No. Nothing but let's go get some barbecue and get busy. We'll have that same swagger.
Yeah, but either way, it's his Waterloo. He can't win at the mall.
So he comes back with Jazz completely struck out. Can't find Geoffrey a single girl at the mall because, well, let's be honest. When a 17-year-old walks up to a mom and her daughters and says, so I've got this proposition for you, all right? Will you come home with me and hang out with my butler? I just don't feel like that's the most appealing of propositions.
Nah.
Especially in Bel Air.
Nah.
Although he was probably going off to Woodland Hills.
Probably. But still, its proximity is close enough.
Okay.
I can't see it. But I mean, when is the last time you sent a 17-year-old to the mall to get a date and they actually came back with one?
I have never sent a 17-year-old to do anything. I don't trust 17-year-olds. You know why? I used to be 17.
So you know the energy and all of the disorganization that's going on in their head.
Exactly. You're thinking about one thing and one thing only, and that is not good for accomplishing any sort of task that has been assigned to you.
It's almost like you're so focused on it that it's not going to happen the harder you try.
Exactly. Because you have no idea what you're doing when you're 17.
But you know who does know what they're doing?
Will Smith?
Well, besides Will Smith, because Will Smith is struck out by now. The 9-year-old comes to the rescue and offers her friend Samantha.
Now, hold on. You're forgetting a very important plot point. Jazz is wearing the shirt, which means we know what's going to happen because Jazz starts to hit on Hillary. And what does Uncle Phil do?
He throws him out.
And comes back into the room, dusting off his hands with a look of pure glee on his face. And yes, then as the family moves on, as if nothing has happened, then Ashley chimes in and says, my friend might have a solution. And Will just looks at her and says, I don't think that's legal, sweetie.
As we've touched on earlier, pedophilia has no place in this episode, nor this show, nor life. Okay? It should not be a part of your life.
Amen.
You should not take dating advice from a 9-year-old in real life.
You shouldn't take anything from a 9-year-old in real life.
This just got real awkward.
But what... Go ahead. No.
I have nothing. It's just all awkward. We got to move on from that one.
But what Ashley is actually offering is that her friend's nanny has been sitting around in her room knitting. She is also from England, and her and Geoffrey would probably get along pretty well.
Yeah, that's true. But here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is before we find out who the nanny is.
Yes.
Have we ever seen Naomi Campbell knit anything? I don't think she's knit anything ever.
No, but what the joke is clearly being set up to be is we're not expecting Naomi Campbell.
No.
We're expecting Cicely Tyson.
Mother Nature.
Yes, indeed.
I have a theory that Cicely Tyson is Mother Nature, because I'm pretty sure she's like 895 years old. I don't know how old she is, but I know how young she isn't. So that's just my thing.
She's just going to keep taking that trip to Bountiful, and all will be well.
Yeah. But back to this old English lady.
Yes.
Do we just assume that all nannies from England are just old, knitting, serving people who are just super classy, and they just come to Bel Air and just serve rich people?
Well, again, it's about accessibility more than anything else, because when you think English stereotypes, you think tea and crumpets, you think
English
the
muffins.
Queen. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
And you think of old little British Mrs. Doubtfire type ladies.
Yeah, very true.
And so we're just playing right into that stereotype, which is why when Will tells Geoffrey that he has a date for her, not only does he figure out a way to squeeze in a Geoffrey might be gay joke, Geoffrey might be a black Mr. Belvedere joke, but he also figures out a way to squeeze in do it for the king.
In my favorite line, of course, I'll do it for King Elizabeth.
God save the Queen.
Yes. And this is why I like Geoffrey the most out of all of this cast here, because, you know, you have the people who come in and they're just funny.
Yep.
You have the people who come in and they're charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
You have the people who come in and they're classy.
Mm-hmm.
But Geoffrey is my favorite kind of person who just comes in the room, drops the one-liner, does something, and leaves. He doesn't have to do much to be an all-star. His presence is an all-star.
Yeah, nope, and you've nailed it, because the next time we see him, he's sitting there, he is humming HMS Pinafore to himself. I'm cold little buttercup, sweet little buttercup, fixing his bow tie, and Will decides he needs to give Geoffrey cool lessons.
But Will doesn't start off cool.
No.
I mean, he comes in, and obviously when you don't like somebody's outfit or what they're planning to do, you don't do it the way that Will Smith did it right there.
Mm-mm.
With the no. I feel like they went to the oldest, most non-West Philly homeboy writer, and they said, give us a joke for Will right here.
But that's why they have Benny Boomps. Like, he's supposed to veto all of that.
But Benny didn't veto it. I think this might have been one that slipped past Benny. He might have just skipped over this line.
Well, here's my theory. As we know, this episode was filmed before the episode that took place at the mall, and Benny Boomps wrote that episode. So after Benny saw this episode, like, all right, guys, look, it's time, all right? I let you guys do your thing. We need to make an authentic episode. I'm going to write this one, but you've never written an episode. No. I'm going to write this one.
But I feel like in between that, he said, but you guys have, so I'm going to write it. It's like, but I did clean the kitchen. I know. That's why I'm going to do it from now on.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's just like Granny coming in all over again.
You know, by the end of this, side note, we're going to have a whole soundtrack for Andrew here. You are going to be the soundtrack. I hope you know that.
I'm well aware of this.
You already have like 6 or 7 tracks in between HMS Pinafore, Nobody Knows. I mean, you have so many hits already.
Hey, we're gonna release it all as a special track. We're gonna set a milestone where once we've reached a certain number of streams on this podcast, we're just gonna go in and we'll do a supercut of me singing, and then when we do our live episode, it's just gonna be me doing It's Not Unusual. That's gonna be it.
You know what? We have breaking news.
Oh?
Andrew is really Rafael De La Ghetto. Just
street beat. street meat, or I'll kill you.
Yeah, see, we thought it was Geoffrey, but Geoffrey was like the face of it. Andrew was really Raphael de la Ghetto. Geoffrey's still the coolest, but he's just the man.
That's right. This white boy from the mean suburbs of Detroit is in fact Raphael de la Ghetto. And it's true. I went to school on 13 Mile, which makes me hardcore because that's like 8 Mile plus 5.
Ooh. So gangster.
Yes, indeed. I learned everything I know from my friend DJ Michael Friedman.
I'm scared. I've shaken out of my boots at this point. But I also love the fact that Will barges into Geoffrey's room with the boombox, so we already know what's going to happen. It's almost like Jazz with the shirt.
Yep.
So we know Will is going to try and dance.
And again, what it comes down to is we're still at that point where even though they're starting to figure out more of Will's character, they are writing for him and playing to his alleged strengths. And I guess his lack of ability, but such strong dedication to the art form of dance is something that the writers feel they can work with. And Will really believes that he has to help Geoffrey get away from this, quote, Ben Vereen thing he has going on.
No, well, he might be getting him confused with Mr. Belvedere. You never know.
That's the other thing, though. It's like Ben Vereen, who will show up in this show at some point, spoiler alert, was a fantastic dancer.
Yeah.
Will, not a fantastic dancer.
I think Will might be caught up in a mix-up here. You never know.
Yes. Like, he might have been thinking of Benson. Little Robert Guillaume action.
Yeah.
Or is that hitting too close to home?
I think you've got the nail on the head. Pretty much. But especially after Will fails at making Geoffrey dance, because after seeing Will dance, Geoffrey wants no part of dancing. He doesn't want to taint what good dancing he has, which we'll find out later.
Yes.
I can't even get to that point without a giant smile on my face. Will says you got to funk up your wardrobe. And being in such Geoffrey fashion, he says, you want me to funk out my outfit?
Now, let's talk about Will's outfit right here, really quickly. All right.
I was blinded by it.
So at this point, Will is wearing a Michael Jordan t-shirt and Nike breakaway pants that say, just do it on the side. But the producers of the show clearly did not want to pay Nike for the use of the word just do it. So there is black duct tape covering up the word it.
But you notice, another thing I noticed, because we rewinded it back.
Oh, yes.
Like Seinfeld, Will has a very great shoe collection. Extremely expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see as many Jordan shoes or as many of Will's shoes in this episode as you have in the past.
Well, Nike probably got pissed off.
Yeah, so they probably just shins up. Camera guy, shins up. No feet today.
Like, but I can't. I mean, do you want to do everything in a medium shot?
Yes.
But that's going to look awful. I mean,
so is the black tape on his Nike sweats, but we don't care. We don't want to pay Nike.
But you could just get him a different pair of pants. I mean, we have other pants here.
No, actually, no, we don't.
There are no other pants?
No.
Give him Jazz's pants.
No.
Give him Uncle Phil's pants.
Then he'd look like MC Hammer. Then we could really make this the Outcast one.
And then his dancing would make so much more sense.
His dancing would be great with all that extra air and room. It would look amazing.
And he would look like MC Hammer did in the Saturday morning Hammerman cartoon.
Yeah. That was awesome.
It was many things. But I don't know that I would say that Hammerman was awesome.
You know what? I was a kid. And it was awesome then, And because it was awesome then, it's awesome now.
All right, fair enough. But what was awesome was after Will's failed dance lesson, Geoffrey comes downstairs dressed like Geoffrey, and the entire family, for whatever reason, is just waiting in the living room for Helen, the nanny, Geoffrey's date, to show up.
It's almost like prom or homecoming when your date comes over and the family just kind of sits there.
Yep, and Will's standing there with a camera. He just can't wait to get a picture of the two old British people who are going to sit around eating tea and crumpets and listening to a David Frost interview.
And discussing HMS Pinafore. To not leave that out.
I'm cold little buttercup, sweet little buttercup. And then Helen shows up.
In all of her glory.
And it's Naomi Campbell. Lorenzo, in case the kids only know Naomi Campbell as the woman who threw a cell phone at her assistant, can you please give us a little bit of Naomi Campbell history?
Okay, Naomi Campbell is the reason we have a Tyra Banks, is the reason we have any model nowadays, because she was just the epitome of the supermodel in the 90s. She pretty much changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
She was in every major high fashion publication. She was basically the main Victoria's Secret model back then. And that's Naomi Campbell. That's all you need to know.
And I would actually make a parallel to Kate Upton today.
Yeah.
And the reason I make that parallel is because Kate Upton has recently tried acting. And they clearly use the same tactics on Naomi Campbell's acting that they did on Kate Upton's acting, because all of her lines were as short as possible to cover up the fact that she clearly had no idea what she was doing.
No. She just looks good in front of the camera. She doesn't talk. When is the last time you invited a model over to your house to talk beautifully to you?
If a model talks beautifully, she is not a model. She is an actress.
There's a difference.
Models are people who look good in very small clothing. Actors are people who have the ability to speak and in some sense have a desire to have lots of people looking at them doing it while they pretend to be someone else. Naomi Campbell didn't get hired to be anyone else. It's not like Helen was meant to be Aunt Viv's best friend from college who studied Darwinian poetry.
You're making it sound like they had no character development for Helen.
That's because they didn't.
Okay, you're right. All right.
She showed up. She was wearing a very tight dress. She looked very good in it. She got in one joke. I will give that to her, because apparently she and Ashley had lots of conversation and referred to Will as the houseboy, to which Ashley responded,
homeboy. There's a difference. It's a different thing in America. It's a good thing, I think. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So, Geoffrey steps in, and this is where they really get the best use out of Naomi Campbell, because her job for the rest of the scene is to basically sit there while Geoffrey talks at her.
Yeah, but I mean, they did it in such an amazing way, because like I said, Geoffrey, he just comes in for short spurts and just does the best thing available, which is comedy. But now, they make him... he turns into Bond. You know, he says, I'm gonna take this moment to let all of you Americans know how us English people do things. He listens to her for about 30 seconds and he breaks down exactly where she's from, where she lived, and pretty much who she is in all of 30 seconds. Now, if that's not 007, I don't know what is.
Word.
I don't care if he's your butler. If somebody tries to break in, they're dead because you really have 007 in your house. Geoffrey is the black 007. Yeah.
Yeah. No question about it.
No Idris Elba. I think we were going in the wrong direction. We need Geoffrey.
That's such a horrible image of Geoffrey now, 25 years later.
I mean, if they can make somebody look 25 years younger in Tron, I think they can do it for Geoffrey.
Yeah, but they didn't do that good of a job. If you had said Benjamin Button, I would agree with you. But Tron, he clearly looked like a computer-generated image.
Yeah. But still.
Yeah.
I think Geoffrey could figure it out.
So let it be written, so let it be done.
Yes.
So now we've got a big continuity issue in the show. Hillary is taking Geoffrey and Helen to one of the swankiest clubs in all of Bel Air.
I need you to stop right there. Hillary is doing something for somebody. What is she getting out of this?
I think as she looks upon Geoffrey and has to do his work, she finds a new appreciation for the ability that she has to boss him around, and therefore wants to do something nice for him.
So Hillary is a human being in this episode?
Almost.
Almost, okay. Sorry.
One of the things we didn't touch on is the fact that she tried to wrap Geoffrey's present. And now, wrapping a present is not rocket science.
Nor science, period. Let's just... Wrapping paper around a box is not that difficult. I did it as a 5-year-old. It might have been lumpy on the inner layers, but you can put enough tape to smooth it on the outer layers.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yep. Agreed. What I want to know is, Hillary is, 17 at this point? How is she getting into these clubs? And more importantly, Jazz is the DJ in this club. How had Hillary and Jazz never met before, since they clearly live in the same world?
You're expecting way too much to make sense right about now. You're just supposed to watch this and laugh.
Okay. But it's hard. You know why it's hard?
Why?
Because you've got all these great puzzle pieces, and you put them together in such a weird way. Like, I don't want a Jackson Pollock. I don't want a Picasso. I just want someone to draw stick figures that kind of make sense.
I think we've gotten that. We've gotten that. You know, maybe Jazz was there on all of the nights that Hillary wasn't, and Hillary was there all the nights Jazz wasn't.
And so it was only through the cosmic event that was Will entering his Bel Air life that brought these two together.
I'm going to go with that. Otherwise, it just makes no sense. And yeah.
And lo and behold, Hillary, who's very excited to be at this club because Tom Cruise's gardener shares electrolysis and Heather Locklear are all there.
What?
Will has come to the club as well.
In his best Dick Tracy suit.
I would say best Big Bird suit. It's giant, it's neon, it's yellow.
We'll let you decide. How about that? We'll have a poll up. Dick Tracy or Big Bird?
I love it. And of all the things we could be debating, Naomi Campbell's acting, whether or not Geoffrey is actually a spy who worked for the British intelligence service and is actually spying on the Banks family this entire time. No. Is Will Smith Big Bird or Dick Tracy?
That's the important things in life. I don't know what you place high on your list, but that's number one on mine.
What I place high is the fact that when we see Jazz for the first time after he was thrown out of the house, he has a Band-Aid on his head. Now, he's been thrown out 2 times before, and he didn't have a Band-Aid on his head.
Uncle Phil's getting better with his aim.
Ah, okay.
You know, like the javelin, how you want it to stick in the ground. It's like, I think he figured out the technique.
It's the hammer throw.
Yeah.
Okay, I can work with that. Will is suddenly very, very, very upset that he cannot hit on Helen.
Yeah.
And he has to give Helen to Geoffrey.
Yeah, it's almost like, hey, I've got this year-old car. It's just really, really old car. Do you want it?
It's an old car? No, I don't want an old car. Why would I want an old car?
But it's your birthday. I'm going to give you this old car. It's old to me. Like, I just want to give it to you. Just let me give you this old car.
No. I understand you're trying to give me something, but despite the fact that I know nothing about it, I'm just going to assume that it's bad, and therefore I do not want it.
Look, I'm going to drive it up to your house, okay?
All right, but I already told my buddy that you're going to give him the car.
Okay, fine, then I'll give him the McLaren. Gosh.
Wait, McLaren?
It's my old car. It's a McLaren.
Yeah. You said it was an old car. I thought you were giving me like a Volare.
What? That's not even a car. That's just something on wheels with a motor in it.
This is like you were giving me a nice setup.
I don't even know what that is. Is that even a McLaren? McLaren, Ferrari, made that. Those are cars.
I need to go call my friend who I was going to have you give the car to. I'll be back.
Yeah, and this is the crux of Will's problem here.
Yes.
He's given Geoffrey the McLaren that he's been fighting so hard to get at the mall. And now he's got to get it back.
But Geoffrey's got way too much game for Will. Like, he is dancing with Helen, and they are doing the lambada.
After the Pulp Fiction. With the cape effect to it, because he pulls up the blazer and then does the Pulp Fiction.
We'll be posting this online.
I'll be doing that tonight.
We'll be posting that online. Maybe.
Yeah, not me doing it. We're going to post Geoffrey doing it. I might just be wearing a blazer.
So Will, he swoops right in. He tries to dance with Helen in the most awkward fashion. He's basically having a seizure in front of her.
Yeah. I think his dancing just turned to convulsions at this point, because he was just so distraught that he had lost so bad.
And for whatever reason, I guess if you cut in between a couple who is dancing the lambada, then the security guard is going to see you doing it, and apparently that is an offense by which you can be thrown out of the club.
Well, he might have thought that a random light had fallen on the floor from the ceiling, because he was wearing a bright yellow suit. He might have just been strobing around the club.
Either that, or he thought that Will was having a seizure, and for tax purposes, he wanted the seizure to happen outside. That way he wasn't going to be having a seizure in the inside.
I like
the club.
that. The club owner probably saw him and said, "You can't die in my club." No, that's not going to happen.
So Will gets thrown out, and I'm assuming he takes a taxi home. And when he gets there, Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv think they have the house themselves, so Uncle Phil's doing some work in the living room. Aunt Viv is kind of putting the moves on him.
But it's the discounted moves. It's I call it the infomercial moves. You know how, like, when you're up at like 2 a.m. because you can't sleep, so you watch TV and you see Carol Burnett and Ben Vereen talking about the greatest era of music, and they have the CDs of all the older songs, like the 1910 songs. I think that's the CD she got, but the karaoke version.
Because this entire time during this sensual scene where Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv are getting closer, you're hearing a really sexy song in the background. You're hearing Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. But you're only hearing the song that Marvin Gaye wrote.
It might have been sung by Marv Guy.
Because they clearly did not want to put up the money for sexual healing. And in my mind, my take on any comedy is that if you are not going to put up the money for the song, don't try and convince us that it's the song. Don't get a cover. Like, I have been judged harshly in the past because there's another show from the 90s that I like.
Mm-hmm.
It's called The Wonder Years.
I love that show.
It's a fantastic show. Now, one of the most iconic things about The Wonder Years is the fact that they use Joe Cocker's cover of the Beatles with a little help from my friends as their theme song.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of The Wonder Years, unlike The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you can watch all of The Wonder Years on Netflix. But when you turn it on, the first thing you hear is this really, really bad cover version of With a Little Help from My Friends. Like, they are not even trying to get a good Joe Cocker sound alike.
Mm-mm.
This is bad karaoke, and it just takes you out of it. So if you're going to go that route, I say go the route of another show that did not want to pay the rights.
Yeah.
Married with Children.
Yeah.
Married with Children was best known for its theme song, which used the iconic Frank Sinatra track, Love and Marriage. But when they wanted to syndicate it online, and when they wanted to put the show on DVD, they went to the Frank Sinatra estate and said, we want to use the song. And the Frank Sinatra estate said, okay, here's the amount of money you're going to pay us. And the producers looked at that amount of money and said, we're going to find a different song. And they went in and they put in an instrumental sound-alike. Just like the Fresh Prince did last week when they used an amazing sound-alike of Smooth Criminal.
Yeah. I mean, especially with this week with Nike coming after him, they probably paid Will a lot of money from his royalties from putting his song in the show. They probably ran out of money for music. Their music budget is blown.
All right, and that's fine. Then you make a nice little song called Sensual Rejuvenation that's got a nice funky beat to it with a great bass line. We'll know exactly what you're talking about.
By Merv Man. Exactly. You saw what I did there.
Yes,
you know what I did.
So Merv Man is singing in the background, and then Will is back from the club with a giant Band-Aid on his head because he got thrown out, and interrupts this beautiful moment between Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv.
In his best ultraviolet pink.
And Geoffrey comes home. Is Helen with him? Nope.
Mm-mm.
Nope. But Geoffrey's there, and Hillary's there, and Hillary speaks very fondly of the events that took place after Will left.
Apparently Geoffrey can backflip.
And Uncle Phil is very surprised that Geoffrey can do the lambada.
And backflip. He's 007, I'm telling you.
And then we have the Theo moment, but this time it comes via Geoffrey.
So it's technically the Theodore moment?
Oh.
I mean, because we have to be proper.
Yes. All right, I'll give you that. So Geoffrey says, essentially, you assumed that because I wanted to be introspective on my birthday, and I wanted to assess how my life was going, that meant that I was uptight.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope from tonight's events you recognize that I am, how would you say?
I would say, personally, he wanted to convey the fact that he was cooler than Will. But, to be exact, I believe the words were a fairly fly individual.
And not only did he pull this off, but he pulled this off wearing a tweed jacket, a bow tie, and a pocket square.
Because you gotta funk the outfit up.
Yes, you do. And the moral of all of this was that somehow the convulsions that Will did in front of Helen worked because Geoffrey and Helen were not going to work out, and Helen asked Geoffrey to give Will her number.
But this is the complete moment where you say, you know, it's not you, it's me. You know, and normally the girl is saying that, but this time it's Geoffrey, because Geoffrey is clearly too classy for her. Geoffrey is clearly too much for Helen to handle. She needs somebody who's slower, a little less sophisticated. All of these things that Will could be. And one of the cheekier moments that I think they got the cheeky just right on this one, because Will looks directly into the camera for his funny Theo moment and says, and I quote, "It's not important that I got the date with Helen. It's more about the fact that me and Geoffrey are now a little bit closer."
And then he tackles Geoffrey, goes towards the phone, and dials Helen's number. And Geoffrey's got a big old smile on his face the entire time while this is happening.
It's like the big brother. It's like, you know what? Look, this girl's clearly not good enough for me, but she's perfect for you.
Yeah.
You know, so just take her. Just have her. I don't even want her. And I mean, if you're classy enough to just turn down Naomi Campbell in her heyday, then you're winning. It's like, hey, I may be your butler, but Kerry Washington, she's so beneath me. You can have her.
Oh.
I might tackle Geoffrey too. I mean, just saying.
And then we fade to black, and we never hear from Helen again.
Because I'm going to guess, and this is just a wild guess, that Will might have struck out again. I understand it's a TV show.
Yes.
But I feel like all of the girls that Will gets are like a vine. They're great for a little bit, and then it's over.
He just gets himself wrapped up in it, and then he just falls flat on his face.
Yeah. I mean, he does somersault and jump over people, but I think when he finally gets to the girl, it's just face down, and not in a good way.
Not in a good way at all.
Mm-mm.
So, Lorenzo, did we learn anything from this episode?
Yes, we did. We learned to check your sources before you play matchmaker, because you could be hooking your friend up with the person that you very well want to be with. You know, it's like when you get the beautiful girl's number and you find out she's the ugly girl of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And then you try and play nice and be in the friend zone with her so you can get with the more beautiful girls, which never really works out.
Nope.
So I know it's 1990 something and you don't have Google, but you could at least ask for a Polaroid.
Yeah. I mean, you would assume that anyone who's living in Bel Air probably has a Polaroid camera.
Or about 18 of them lying around our house.
Forget that. Why didn't Will ask Ashley what she looks like?
Because he's 17 and he's thinking with his hormones at this point. And he struck out so much, he's just happy to have a win.
All right, I'll take that.
I think that's the moral of the story. Do your research. Yeah.
Now, the moral of the story is obviously not to put friendship above all else. It is not to learn from our elders. It is not to remember the importance of never judging a book by its cover. No, none of that.
Once again, you're making sense. You don't make... What are your priorities? Like, I bet work is at the top of your priority, isn't it? Paying bills and keeping a roof over your head.
Well, I do have a priority where I produce a podcast about the Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
But is it the top priority?
Well, I'm here, aren't I?
Okay, so your priorities might be in check. So number 2 through the rest of them might be out of order.
All right. Well, if you think my priorities are out of order, then use the hashtag #BadPriorities and tell me what my priorities should be and tag us at SoFreshSoPrince on Twitter. Or you can leave a message on our Facebook page, or you can take a video of it and tag us on your Instagram at SoFreshSoPrince, or how about a Tumblr post? We're good with any of that. Also, if you think that my priorities are out of order, the best way to let us know is to rate us 5 stars on iTunes or Stitcher to like us on SoundCloud, leave a nice comment. It really helps other people find the show. And that way you get to tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Because clearly, I'm just living right. Because I think the Hammer cartoon was great, which it is. I think Will wearing Uncle Phil's pants while dancing is great, because that's what it is.
We're actually in agreement on that one.
Okay, so we will figure out where that lands in your priorities, but still, we're doing great over here.
Okay.
We'll get there. We'll get there, people.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate everything you do. Make sure, tell a friend to listen as well.
Yeah.
We've got great episodes. This is episode number 10 for you.
Yeah, well, 10. We're in double digits. I think we're winning, guys.
And we appreciate you being here for the entire ride. So whatever you do and however you do it, make sure that when you get up in the morning, you stay so fresh.
So Prince.
Peace.
So Fresh, So Prince is a Bitten from the Apple production, produced by Andrew Apple and Lorenzo Gordon, music by Griffey Majors.